Bam! Welcome to another episode of Mike Sports. I'm Eric, joined as always by Landry. And let's get right into it tonight. We got a lot to talk about. The NFL Week 7. Can you believe we're already at Week 7?
I can, because it's been painfully long for a Cowboy fan and obviously an Eagle fan.
Yeah. Lots of injuries to get into. Last week we weren't able to join you because I believe Dak Prescott's leg was twisted the other way, and so that knocked out our internet connection, and so we couldn't have a show last week. So that was that.
What happens? Dak pays our bills. He only got half a game check last week. So
well, right. The other half went to turning his ankle around, and But thankfully, I do believe that there was a smart fan who was able to send him
the donations,
$11 in donations to help him out. For those of you who don't know,
I didn't know that was coming. Like I didn't know.
Yeah. I wanted to tell this story last week. I'll let you take it since it's
so when we were young, and when I say young, I'm guessing maybe I was 13. We were all watching the Cowboys game at a friend's house and whatnot. Me and all my friends of similar age. I think we're 11 to 13, all of us who put our group together. Well, I had a friend named Timothy, and Emmitt Smith had broken his arm in that game. Timothy was like, man, he broke his arm. He's like, I'm taking a collection of money in an envelope. I'm going to send it to Emmitt so that, he can get healed or whatnot. So there's two ways to look at that. Either we were nice young kids doing something that we didn't know any better about, or we were fucking stupid. Now, being the money guy that I am, owning companies, being a stock, investor and whatnot, to me, it looks pretty stupid at my age. If I was to ask Timothy said he'd probably say he was trying to do the right thing.
Sure. I can believe it. Hey, you're trying to do what you can to help out a member of your team. And as a kid, maybe you don't realize that, hey, he's not going to have to pay any of those medical bills himself. So you think, oh, man, he's going to have to look at what he's doing for his team, and we should take up a donation to make sure he doesn't have to see any of the bill for the So I can see the good-hearted nature, but it's just a funny story.
Yeah.
So anyway, our typical rule is, we cover all the games, and we do the Eagles game and the Cowboys game last. So I say we stick with that, even though the Eagles and the Giants are the first game of the week. Sure. And personally, I'm just happy that we get the game done early this week.
Yeah. So you pick a topic that you think's important this week. I'll pick one, and then we run through the schedule.
Well, to me, one of the things I've noticed, and I don't know if you did, but I expected play to be very sloppy, because of no preseason. To me, play this year, it was not sloppy. It started off we hit the ground running. I think what I noticed from this whole experience, we don't need preseason. I know,
yeah.
I know that coaches love it.
You and half the league has been saying that for about 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you've been saying it for 10 years. I'm saying half the league now. Would you be joining half the league and saying that?
But I'm saying
coaches differ.
This is the obvious case for it. The league, play has been good. The NFC East is not reflective on how the rest of the league is played. Now, maybe the NFC East should have a preseason of just their own, and they have to play each other in a round robin before the season starts.
Yeah.
And that should be the preseason. It's just the NFC East so they can get caught up to the rest of the NFL's level.
Right. Now, what I will say is that, the coaches would differ with that. We are in the future we may be missing talent that otherwise would be a breakout star in preseason and becoming an NFL, pro that we won't get to witness in preseason, or they won't be given that chance. So we may miss out now on talent that otherwise may have become a superstar in the NFL. Now, let's be honest, how often does that happen? We have good players that make teams, but often we don't find breakaway stars. Every once in a while we do. But we will be missing, to me, that chance to see them or make a team that they normally wouldn't, or now they'll get cut before they ever got to show themselves.
Well, to me, I think there are solutions. You don't need to have these games that are aired and presented as NFL products that clearly are an inferior product. You can do things where, you can have more taped practices so that players that are borderline players, their tape can get out there for the rest of the league.
Now, what Eric is trying to tell you right now is that he tried out for the Eagles this past week. He sent his tape in. He brought his VHS and his CD audio of his singing he did, and he was rejected. So Eric is saying there's solutions. Eric is a proponent of that because he's been trying to make the Eagles team for about 20 years as a walk-on. Keep going.
Yeah, and I was figuring this was my year with all the injuries.
Like with COVID, I thought some mofo would go down and I'd make it no matter what.
Right?
And we're taking non-infected people, so I knew I had a shot.
Right, and hey, I don't know if you can notice, but I'm an essential worker.
Okay.
And the rest of the shirt says I'm kind of a big deal.
Sure.
So, but yeah, so I think there are solutions to one, me getting on the Eagles roster, and to being able to help these other players who maybe aren't as talented as I am, but need an opportunity to make a roster because they put in the work.
Yeah. So my topic is I want to bring up I'm thinking like top news like today or this week or whatnot. Antonio Brown is expected to sign with the Seahawks by the end of this week. That's a big deal because that's a game changer in the NFC. If he has been working out and he is in shape, Antonio Brown on any team, look, I don't like the guy personally off the field, but on the field, I will not doubt what he can do and the damage he can cause. If still in really good shape, with Wilson already looking right now at the top of my MVP list for the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I see some damage coming. I see them now being a much stronger playoff contender. Look at when Antonio Brown, even though he was only there for one game in New England, he had immediate impact in New England.
Right. And you look at what kind of impact he's going to have. I already had somebody in one of my fantasy leagues go in and pick up Antonio Brown as a free agent player in their fantasy league.
I seriously thought that the Bucks might make a push to get him with Brady since Brady liked him so much.
Right.
Imagine that. Gronk and Antonio Brown and Brady with that defense.
Right.
It's them and the Chiefs.
And that's to add to the other.
Yeah, it's like them and the Chiefs, no doubt. We know who's playing each other.
Evans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. All right, on to the schedule. Let's do it.
All right. So game one. Yeah, let's go week one. We're restarting.
Given my team's play so far, I'd gladly want to talk about week one again if you want to.
So, okay, game one on the slate, Sunday, 1 o'clock, a great game, 2 5-0 teams. We're starting off, we're hitting the ground running here. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans.
Man, that is a tough one because I think Tannehill is way under. It's funny because my dark horse that I picked this year was Tennessee Titans. You said Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
So we both got these teams who are, just not getting the credit they deserve, and they're over-delivering right now, so to speak. Look, the Bills almost beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I knocked your Bills. I still don't think the Bills make the play. I think the Bills get screwed up somewhere.
You don't think the Bills make the playoffs?
I think psychological. No, I'm sorry. First round, I think they're out. That's what I said. I think originally that is what I said about them, that they could make the first round, and that would be it for them. But yeah, so anyways, back to the Steelers Titans. I'm gonna go Titans. I just think the Titans are on fire right now. I think Derrick Henry's been on fire for 2 years. I think Tannehill is underrated. I think when teams plan, they're not focusing too much on Tannehill. They're focusing on other aspects of the team. I think Mike Grable is coach of the year. To me, should have got coach of the year last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was criminal that he didn't.
So, I'm sitting here thinking, they're coming back for their limelight that they didn't get last year like they should have.
Yeah, look, I like the pick. I like Tennessee. I've been ready to get ahead of the downfall of the Titans, and now and it just hasn't happened. So
yeah,
I'll be the last one on the bandwagon. So I'll choose.
Anytime I'm not sure, I go look at the picture of Derrick Henry standing next to Mark Ingram, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to go for the Titans.
Yeah,
dude looks like he's freaking
boy can eat.
Yeah, man child. Yeah.
All right. So next up, we just talked about your surprise team, the Tennessee Titans. Now let's talk about my surprise team, the Buffalo Bills. as they have a real tough test this week. They are on the road in a real hostile environment, the Meadowlands, to play the Jets.
Wow, man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, the Jets are playing such good football for the first time ever. Dude, I don't even know what to say about the Jets. I really don't. Like, their organization. So now that I've seen them on Hard Knocks, back when they had Rex Ryan, you know, who's the dude who caught the ball in the end zone? Cubit, what's his name?
Yeah.
That was the last time I had like any like respect for that team. That is it. After that, they have never recaptured a moment to be back in that kind of light. So there's only if you're playing the Chargers, the Bengals, the Browns. What I even think about the Jets might put up a fighting chance. Past that, I'm like, you name any other team in the show along the way, and I'm going to go for whoever else it is. So obviously, you know my pick.
Yeah, I mean the Bills have lost 2 straight since starting off 4-0. I think this is a real get-right game for them. I think they bust out the whooping stick.
It's a native country. They're not traveling too far.
Right, yeah. It's a short ride.
Yeah.
And speaking of short rides, the Cleveland Browns have to go to the other side of the state this week to play the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bengals in this one. I've been watching Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow looks good. Mm-hmm. He may be losing, but it's not because of him. He's playing good football. I think Baker Mayfield, we talked about this last week. I think he's done. I think he's not what they thought he was going to be. I think, in my opinion, OBJ has till November, I think it's 8th. When's the trade deadline?
Yeah, November 8th.
I would demand a trade if I'm OBJ at this point. I'd demand a trade. I'd want out. And he knows there are teams who would take him right now. Shit, the Bucks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
that's all the Bucks need is another receiver.
Yeah.
The Browns Bengals, and it's funny. I really thought I was going to be the one saying this about the Browns this week. They're 4-2, but like to me, they're a fugazi 4-2.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't believe in them at all. And the Bengals, I think Joe Burrow, in spite of their ownership, the Cincinnati Bengals are headed in the right direction.
Yeah. This is a see what we are year for them.
Yeah.
And then go back to the drawing board. You know, I see in 2 to 3 seasons, if they put the right pieces, if they build around Joe Burrow like they should, I see a good competitiveness out of them. I'm not going to say they're going to go, Super Bowl or anything crazy like that, but I see a competitive team coming out of them.
Right. A team fighting for the playoffs late into December.
Yeah.
I could see that for the Bengals in a year or two. Not this year, but I do think this week they get a win over the Cleveland Browns. The Green Bay Packers, they're going to be on the road this week in an area that you're familiar with in Houston. They're playing the 1-5 Texans. Texans finally got a win. What do you think this Sunday? Do they start? Green Bay is 5-0 all time in Houston. Do they make it 6-0?
Look, and that was a tough loss for Houston. I mean, they played in overtime. To me, they should have had that game. I don't think they're going to pull off a win against Green Bay. I think it's going to be a good game. I think there has been a rejuvenation in the Texans' attitude. Carmel, being the oldest coach in history at this point, he has good, long-standing ties with NFL, and players respect him. So I don't think there's anything team-wise wrong with the team. I think this is just a matter of Watson not having the weapons to put up the numbers that Rodgers will probably put up. Yeah,
I just think it's going to be too much Rodgers, too much Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
But I do think the Texans will be game.
Yeah. And at this point, I would also say that I think that, out of the Watts, I think Watt's brother is actually performing better than J.J. Watt. I think J.J. Watt's injuries are showing. He's just not getting in no way is he a bad player or not doing well. He's still solid.
Sure, it's just father time's undefeated.
He's still better than the average end out there, period. Mm-hmm. But it's safe to say that he does not look like J.J. Watt of old that, broke sack records or tied up.
He doesn't look like the best defensive player in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't see Canton written all over him like I once did, even though he's going to go there anyways.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's not the player that was on his way to the Hall of Fame. He's the guy that's already there. But he's
already there, and he looks like he's on the other end of his career. He is in the last year of his contract. Some people forget this is the 10th year he's been in the league. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely at that point now where he's got more games behind him than in front of him. But
And he did say he would not play until he was like washed up and injured. He would quit early. So,
yeah, I mean,
I
this
see
could
maybe
be the
3 more
final
years
year
in
for
him.
J.J. Watt.
I
Yeah.
see 3 more years in him max.
Mhm.
And I don't even know if he'll do that just because to me, he has he has that new generation attitude. Don't play the game until you're dead. Play the game until you've made enough money and then get out while you're healthy.
Right. And to where, like, you leave some meat on the bone. Like, where it's like, where people will be talking about, yeah, he could have played another 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So a good, interesting NFC South battle, the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. It's fun. I've been the guy, like, I gamble a little bit on some games. I've been counting Carolina out and betting against them. They've cost me a couple.
I've been going for them. Remember last week I told you?
Yeah.
Remember I said you should pick them. They're a solid football team.
And I've been going against you on that, but I still got to believe this is one of those areas. The Saints are the Saints, and it's in New Orleans. They're going to have a crowd in there. They're going to let, I think, up to 3,000 people. And so for me, this is a New Orleans Saints win.
Yeah, I'm going New Orleans Saints. And it isn't indicative of the Carolina being bad. It's because the Saints are playing good football still.
Yeah.
And they're just marginally more talented at most spots, and they're a lot more talented at quarterback. So
okay, the next matchup, Detroit Lions at the Atlanta Falcons. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, just not really worthy of it.
I'm going Falcons.
I was gonna say I'm just gonna go Falcons because they're the home team. This is a game I want to talk about. The Seattle Seahawks, the 5-0 Seahawks at the 4-2 Arizona Cardinals. I've been telling everybody, I said the Buffalo Bills were my AFC surprise team. Arizona was going to be my NFC surprise team. So I'm going to surprise you this week. I think the Seahawks get their first loss in Tempe, Arizona. And I think the Arizona Cardinals beat the Seahawks this week.
I agree. Until Antonio Brown is there, I'd agree. If he was there this week, I'd say, no, I think they'll take him. Just to give people some insight how it works, you have to spend 5 days in quarantine before you can actually join a team. Right. So Antonio Brown, even if he signs on Friday, he won't be there. Even in the next game, he'll be in the game after. So he has a 2.5 week outage, no matter who he joins at this point. I don't know. That's tough. Home field advantage, obviously. A lot of people dismiss home field advantage because there's no crowd right now. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Travel's travel. It's not your home. You don't get to practice every day and familiarity with it.
I would think there'd be more to advantage because in this day and age, like, you don't get to go anywhere. You don't get to do anything when you're out on these trips. Like, it is purely a business trip, and it feels like a business trip. Like, to me, like, I would give more of an advantage. As much as I love being in the crowd when I'm at Eagles games, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think the crowd noise bothers players in the least bit. Like, offenses.
I agree. There's only a few stadiums I disagree. In New Orleans, it absolutely does. I've sat in that stadium during a Super Bowl, and it is
New Orleans, Seattle, and I'd say maybe Kansas City.
Yeah, I cannot. In New Orleans, I cannot, during the Super Bowl, going to his Baltimore and 49ers, I could not hear the person next to me. It is that deafening. So I can only imagine what a player feels like with it going towards them versus next to them. So it's deafening. So New Orleans is definitely an advantage crowd noise-wise. Seattle, probably so. Kansas City, I don't know. I haven't watched enough Kansas City games at home to know their crowd.
So we're both on Arizona on that one.
Yeah, and I'm going to say barely. There's no wipeout going on here. I'm thinking a field goal game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I could see a last-second field goal deciding that game.
Yeah.
San Francisco at New England this week.
I'm going San Fran, man. I have been on San Fran's bandwagon since last year. I still think they were better than the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs just had a good surge in the end to come back. I thought the 49ers were still the better team. Now Garoppolo's back in form. I think the 49ers are almost back. And Kittle is – I don't know what to say about that dude. He's more of an agile Gronk to me. He's just as talented as anybody in the league at his position. He just happens to be faster, more agile at it. I was listening to Shannon Sharp going to depth the other day about him, from one tight end to another. Mm-hmm. And nothing but mad respect. And he was talking about all his talents and his intangibles and whatnot. And I completely agreed. I had nothing against it. I think the Niners, if people don't start paying attention to them, they're going to slip right back into the Super Bowl again.
This is one of those spots, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. I still look at it. You're going across country. San Francisco's got to fly to New England. And one of the things Bill Belichick does is he takes the thing that you're best at and takes it away from you.
Yeah.
And they are really good at running the football and the short passes to Kittle. And I just think they're going to eliminate those two facets. And if they sit there and basically say, okay, Jimmy, you've got to beat us. He's still coming off that ankle injury. Now, granted, he looked better last week than the week before.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that that's one of those areas where if New England makes him throw the ball down the field to beat them, I think that the Patriots are going to be able to get a win.
Yeah, I might disagree because I'm going to go with, first of all, the Pats. Just the Cam Newton experiment to me isn't looking as good as I thought it was going to look. It started off strong. I felt a little like, oh, I didn't think it was going to be this good. And now it's declining to me again. And that has been to me the kind of the history with Cam in general. Cam seems to be on this roller coaster of talent, depending on how he feels per game.
Sure, and I just happen to feel like this is going to be one of those up weeks. They had a down week last week against Denver, a real ugly game. But I mean,
I don't know. The reason I don't see it, first of all, I think Garoppolo has always been underrated. I think people have given a hard time. They're giving all the success to Shanahan, who I think is one of the few coaches who can't outcoach Belichick, in my opinion. I think Shanahan gets it. He's of the new age to me. I mean, as soon as he left the Falcons
coach, freaking kind of combine both the old school and new school philosophies.
Yeah, and he's got a father who's a coach. So he's got a lot of he's got a lot of places to draw from to be an excellent coach with Lynch as the GM and whatnot. And let's not forget, the Falcons just recently fired the GM Dimitri and the head coach of the Falcons because basically they weren't ever that good unless Shanahan was there. And when he left, that place was just abysmal after he left that building. So
yeah, if you think about it, after Kyle Shanahan left the Falcons building,
they were nothing. Matty Ice even said, that was my boy. That's the dude who made us gold. So it's going to be a good battle of offense for defense. The reason I give the Niners the edge, Garoppolo has been to New England. He's comfortable there. So to him, it's like going back home. It isn't like a disadvantage for him to go back in there to me. So I'm going to go Niners. I'm going to go Niners by a touchdown.
All right. Well, hey, I guess we'll see. This is one of those games we'll be head-to-head on.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Patriots. All right. So Jaguars at the Chargers. You're going to, again, 1-5 Jags at the 1-4 Chargers. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I'll take the Chargers. Yeah. All right.
Jeez, I wonder if anybody can tell what teams we don't give a shit about.
Well, this is going to be a good one. The 5-1 Chiefs at the 2-3 Broncos. Now, it always seems like when these two teams get together, you can throw the record books out the window.
Yeah.
They play each other tough, good divisional matchup. I do think this is going to be a Kansas City win. Denver coming off a nice win over the Patriots. I don't think they make it 2 in a row. But in Kansas City, they beat Buffalo after having lost the week before. I still think they're one of those teams, man, when they lose a game, it's like 2 or 3 weeks of like a revenge tour for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go Chiefs by 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Chiefs basically in the fourth quarter just turn it on and put them to bed.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chiefs by a lot. I think this could be a blowout.
Okay.
The Bucks at the Raiders on Sunday Night Football.
I'm gonna go Bucks. And Brady looked like the dude was 21 years old last week to me. So he's on fire, but I can't say enough about the Bucks defense. They look fast, they look aggressive, and they look like they're having fun. They look like they're having fun.
The way they did against Green Bay Sunday night against the Las Vegas Raiders. If
the Bucks could go back and play the Saints again, they beat them now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when that matchup is their rematch.
I think the chemistry has now ignited. The team they're feeling it now. I think Arians is surprised. There's a lot of flack about Brady yelling at the team this past week about the younger players. Taking the whole sensitive younger player difference between, older Brady being like, get your shit in gear, quit screwing up or whatnot. I think it's a good mix of both. I think it's a good, Arians is holding the ship tight, and Brady's getting pissed off and saying this fucking, this paddle's broken, replace it, or fix it or make it better or whatnot. And that's that perfectionist system in him. I think Brady has set the culture tone in there, and I think they've all bought in. Even when Brady didn't know it was fourth down, I was like, well, the dude got dinged up in the head about 30 times in that game. I wouldn't surprise if he knew first and fourth anyways. That was just a game where he was getting lit up.
Yeah, it was a real physical game. Chicago's a real physical team. When they have their way, it's going to be a physical matchup.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Mac was the best thing they ever did.
Right.
Yeah, Mac is a Mac truck. So
okay. So I'm going to go the Bucks as well. I really, I like them a lot. I think they're hitting their stride right now. I love the Raiders too. I like what they're doing, but Tom Brady is Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah, the Raiders are up and coming. They're just not there yet.
Right.
Yeah, they're up and coming.
And on Monday Night Football this week, we had the Bears at the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams. The Rams have been playing some kind of weird football this year. They're just they seem like they can't really hit their stride. But in SoFi at home, the Rams always shine. They always do really good at home. So I'm gonna go with the Rams. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, the Rams are kind of a sneaky team. Like every time I see them, it's like they just look good. Like even in their loss against San Francisco last week, I didn't think they looked bad.
Yeah, McVay. I don't think McVay ever coaches a sloppy game.
Right.
I think just some things don't go his way. Yeah, I think some games just don't go his way because of the big play here and there, and then there's just a separation of game from a point standpoint. But from a schematic and basics, that team has it all covered when it comes to that kind of stuff. They don't make a lot of mental mistakes.
All right, so now we've been putting these games off. We're going to have to talk about them. We'll talk about your team first, the Dallas Cowboys at the Washington Football Team. I find it funny, both our team, all the NFC East teams are playing each other, which means theoretically you'd like to think two of them are going to get wins this week. It'll be the first time this season.
Unless there's a tie.
Yeah, right. Assuming no ties, this will be the first time this season we will have two wins from the NFC East in 1 week. That's a sad commentary in itself, right there.
Well, let me make another sad commentary before I get to my team. Washington has announced that going into the 2021 season that they will remain the Washington Football Team. They're thinking in 2022 they will have a new name.
Why does it take you 2 years to come up with a new name?
I don't know. Thinking about if we did that with children, and your kid was called It or Hey for a really long time.
I mean, look, I was Hey You for a long time.
Yeah. So, anyways, to the game though itself, I think the Cowboys are going to win. I think it's going to be, in my opinion, a sloppy win. But here's where I think about the Cowboys right now. If the Cowboys don't win this game, that's it. The season's done. They might, even if they win the NFC East somehow, they're done as a team, like being competitive. I even lit the skeleton candle for my team tonight. I think this is kind of what they look like right now. I'm not convinced. I think our defensive coordinator needs to be fired. I don't think he's the best guy. I think Marinelli did a better job overall as a defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Mike McCarthy, I want to see a little more out of him, but I'm starting to question whether the game has passed him by a little bit. He plays very conservative football. I'm not going to knock Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton got basically the end of a game in one game and everybody's trashing him. I'm like, well, one, Arizona's a good football team. Two, I want to give the guy at least 2 to 3 games to see if he's any good. Then I'll judge him. Right now, I'm not going to throw him under the bus yet. He may have a better game this game.
I think
he has every excuse to have a better game. Washington isn't a good football team. He has every excuse to look good in this game. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. But I think overall, I don't have a lot of confidence in the Cowboys to pull off anything after losing or winning the NFC East this year, whatever they end up doing. I've lost a lot of faith in the team this year. The defense is just historically, this will be the worst defense in Cowboys history if they keep this up. Right now, they are. if these stats continue. And if these stats get any worse, they could be the worst defense in league history, period. I was looking at the stats. They're pretty bad.
Wow.
Yeah. So with that being said, I don't care if Andy Dalton's throwing up 40 points a game. I don't think we can keep
that bad
team.
defense. I don't care what quarterback. You can put Tom Brady under center.
Yeah, I don't think we can keep other teams from scoring. So any team out there that wants to beat the Cowboys, I think, has a good shot at it if your name isn't Chargers, Jets, or Bengals. And notice I didn't throw the Browns in there.
You didn't? No. Well, hey, they did.
Yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we can sit here and run all night about the NFC East or the NFC least. They have one win outside of the division play, and that's the Dallas Cowboys over the Atlanta Falcons, and that took a monumental comeback to get, or really a monumental collapse, depending on your point of view. So like it's wow, it's in a bad way. And the only time that an NFC East team played a non-NFC East team and didn't lose, other than that Atlanta Falcons game, was the Eagles and Bengals in their tie.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, that's not true. The Eagles have one win as well outside of the division against San Francisco. So my mistake. So 2 wins outside the NFC East versus non-NFC East teams, which is pretty pathetic. But I do think I agree. The Dallas Cowboys win this Sunday. I still think it's a 2-horse race in this division between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I do think because of how bad the division is, like we're going to see
a 3-legged race with an injured. One of those 3 legs is injured. The other leg has like a cement boot on it. We are running towards the finish line. Gimped the hell up.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think it's going to look fun. Like in December, I think we could be looking here and saying, "Wow, mathematically, the Washington football team's not eliminated yet."
Yeah,
and but I still think it's going to come down to the Eagles and Cowboys. And speaking of, I said the Cowboys win this Sunday against the Washington football team. Tomorrow night, the Eagles play the New York Football Giants. And I think it's in Philadelphia on a Thursday night. There's going to be a crowd there. About 5,500 fans or so are going to be allowed in. Mm-hmm. I do think this is going to be an Eagle win.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win. Let me talk a little bit about. I did watch the Eagles game last week, all the way through and whatnot. That was not a Carson Wentz loss. Carson Wentz, I think, brought it. I think the rest of the team's got some injuries and stuff going on. I forgot. I heard the head coach of the Eagles, come out and say something after the game that I thought was really funny. He basically just said, we sucked in a way.
Yeah. And look, the thing is, you got to look at this Eagles team and realize this isn't the team that was meant to be put together, right? The offense has, of the 11 starters on offense, you take a guess. You don't watch the Eagles as closely as I do. How many of the projected opening day starters would you say are still in the lineup right now for the Eagles?
I'll go the opposite. I'll say how many I think are not, like, injured.
Okay, well, whichever. Yeah, I'm saying how many do you think are in the lineup this week?
8 guys are out?
9. So
close.
Yeah, it's Carson.
I keep up with my competition.
Yeah,
I try to see what's going on.
Carson Wentz and Jason Kelce are the only 2 offensive players that were projected to start week 1 and are actually that's might be changing. There's been conflicting reports on the status of Lane Johnson and the status of Deshaun Jackson for tomorrow night's game. Lane Johnson battling an ankle injury, and I feel like this is going to be one of those things he's going to battle through every week. And it's just going to be a matter of how much pain he can deal with and if he, how much swelling he encounters throughout the week.
But even given that, I'll throw out my numbers. I think this is going to be like a 24-10 game. I think the Eagles are going to stomp them.
Yeah,
The Giants are that bad.
I just feel like the Giants are gonna like. There's a potential, I think, for the Giants to start turning the football over a lot tomorrow night. They don't have any running. Devontae Freeman, he kind of is what he is right now. They don't have Saquon Barkley. I know Ingram's a decent tight end, and they have a couple receivers that are all right. But I just, Slayton's good, but like that offensive line is not going to hold up. And this defense gets after the passer. I think sacks early, turnovers middle to late, and that's going to be why the Eagles win.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think the Eagles are going to take it. Obviously, I said my score.
Right.
I think Wentz is he came along a little more in the last game, in my opinion, from the games previous I had watched. But it was weird. It's like he stepped up, started getting better, but I saw the rest of the team start to have some drop balls and like just look a little different. I'm like, okay, dude.
Well, the third play of the game, Hightower dropped a short touchdown. I'm
just sitting there going, Wentz is starting to step up, and you guys are starting to step down. It looks like a little bit. So I don't know. I said this in the beginning. There's something psychologically weird going on with the Eagles. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's something
I think
they're getting in their own way.
I think Carson Wentz is a slow starter for a season. And, he starts to pick it up. And for whatever reason right now, like, guys just aren't playing for it. Like, nobody can catch the football. Like, I sat there and I remember, when Hightower dropped, that would have been a for-sure touchdown. It would have been a huge play. And, all of a sudden, I remember saying that I thought the Eagles, if they won the coin toss, should get the ball because they need to come down there, get points early, and if they're going to have a chance against the Ravens, you got to make the Ravens play from behind.
Right.
And and they did. They took the football. They didn't win the toss. The Ravens elected to defer, so the Eagles got the ball first. And on the third play, that would have been a touchdown, and you'd have gotten what you wanted out of that deal. The Eagles would have been playing it from the lead, and the Ravens would have had to play from behind, which they're not comfortable doing. And Hightower's just got to come down with that football. It was a good game plan. It's just you got to execute better. And I get it. We already talked about it. There's a lot of injuries. But you're all NFL players. You don't get to make excuses. No one's going to feel sorry for you. You got to keep fighting through it. But that doesn't go on Carson.
Yeah, overall – my team, obviously, I'm going to find out what Dak's worth is. Obviously, there's some an island to think about. Dalton could end up stepping up. That may have been just a crappy game for him, and this game is a stellar game.
Sure, Arizona's a good football team.
One good, one bad, and then we see
a good team.
Yeah, I want to see what Andy's like after success. Like when he has a full game under his belt where he dominates and tosses it everywhere, and then the next game's against a good competitor, which the schedule, we have some good ones coming up. Then I want to see, okay, then we'll know what Andy's worth. Are you a real backup, or are you you're going to challenge Dak for his spot kind of player?
Right.
So, me in the beginning of the season, I said, look, I'm not beholden to Dak. People are like, oh, Dak, look how much better we are with that. I'm like, dude, Dak had made a lot of desperate plays. Dak has a lot of splash plays in the fourth quarter. But the Cowboys in general are just slow freaking starters, which has always bothered me about my team. Back against the wall, all of a sudden we're the juggernaut. But in the beginning of the game, we're freaking
just to give you an idea, you talked about the tougher competition coming up. After this week against Washington, they play on Sunday night against the Eagles, and then they're at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see our slop fest get thrown together. I can't wait to see the two teams who can't seem to get their shit right say, hey, let's not get our shit right together and play each other. I'm excited. Right? Yeah.
I kind of want to see
rivalry games. It doesn't matter. I'm always going to root for my team. But it's kind of like, even if we won, even if we lost, I'm like, so? It's like, then what? What are we going to the Super Bowl?
Well, look, whenever you're in a situation where it's like you can either go for the playoffs or not, you should always want to go for the playoffs. And, even as a fan, obviously we know the players are going to try for it.
Hey, if this was the second or third game of the season, and we were actually, I'm like, hey, there's still a chance to mid-season do that whole turnaround. We are in mid-season almost, and this is what we got on our plates. Thanksgiving is in a month.
Well, hey, look, like you said, both Dallas and Philadelphia, I think, have winnable games this week against other NFC East opponents, and then they play each other. And I mean, that's going to go a long way to saying who's going to be in charge of this division.
Yeah.
I mean, if ever there was an opportunity,
the Cowboys are in first place, I believe, right now.
Right.
We're the Giants in Washington or what? I don't know where they're at. Are they?
They're both, 1-5.
Yeah, but who is Washington ahead of Giants or Giants ahead of Washington?
Giants are ahead of Washington by virtue of the fact that they won head to head.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. For some reason I thought Washington was ahead of the Giants. Okay. Yeah. So if the Giants were to pull off a win against the Eagles, that would make everybody go, "Oh, I wonder if the Giants are any good." I think what it is for me, I've got this like feeling going on now where I'm kind of like, who gives two shits about the NFC East right now? We can't compete with anybody outside of ourselves.
Cool. And it's funny because I really think it's like the people that care about the NFC East are fans of NFC East teams. Like if you're a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think you're giving one iota about what's going on in the NFC East. If you're a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you don't give one iota about what's going on in the NFC East. You know that it's like basically if you're like, say, an Arizona of the Rams or the Bucks, somebody who like if you think, well, gee, we're fighting for our division, but like I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if we end up in a wild card spot and we have to go to either Philadelphia or Dallas. Like those two teams are god awful, and like we'll find ourselves in the second round anyway.
So right now, since we're at about midseason, when you look at the league. We're not going to talk Super Bowl. Let's talk conference championships. What 4 teams do you see?
Well, I mean, in the AFC, I still think it's Chiefs-Ravens. Those are the 2 favorites. And again, I'll put the Buffalo Bills right behind them. I think they've delivered the way I expected them to. But Tennessee's been really good too. But so if you ask me for 2, I'll just say Kansas City, Baltimore.
Kansas City, Baltimore. Okay, so a lot like last year. Okay, I'm going to go Titans, Chiefs. And on the other side of the fence, I'm going to go Bucks and who am I not thinking of? Oh, Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, to me, those are the 2 of the NFC. Seattle, Tampa Bay.
So it sounds like me and you basically just got the Bill. You're a Bills fan playing the Chiefs, and I'm a Titans fan playing the Chiefs. So we're the same on the Chiefs. We're just different about who our dark horse going in there is. Oh, I'm sorry, you picked Baltimore. You picked Baltimore. My bad.
Well, I picked Baltimore to go to the – but if somebody's going to stop the Ravens, and typically, Baltimore has done the same thing last 2 years. They've dominated the regular season. First playoff game, they're out. And if something like that's going to go down again this year, the team that I think is going to take their spot in the AFC title game against Kansas City, I'll still go Buffalo.
Okay. And out of my interchange team would be the 49ers, taking the Seattle out of the way and it being them versus the Bucks instead. I think the Niners have a good chance. They got some injuries going on, but they're slowly coming back. By 3/4 through the season, they could be in their pickup mode where they're starting to hit full steam again. So I'm subject to see between Seattle and the Niners. I think the Bucks are going there. I think the Bucks are just on fire. Unless there's a total collapse of mentalness and somewhere in there, or Brady gets smoked, like someone hits Brady, like LeVar Arrington taking out Aikman, and just puts Brady on the skids and sends him on his way home. I see the Bucks right now going to the Super Bowl.
Well, it's funny because of the 2 teams, Seattle or Tampa, which one do I think is more vulnerable? I think it's Tampa still.
Yeah, look, it's their first year together. Obviously,
sure.
They don't have number 1 chemistry, and with Antonio Brown coming in, I'm like, well, hell, that's quite a contest to be up against too. But there are questions for me on Seattle's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's where to me the Niners could take Seattle out.
And the other thing I'll say that might make Seattle vulnerable, we talk about how bad the NFC East is. Well, as bad as the NFC East is, that's how good the NFC West is. And the thing that might make it difficult for Seattle is having to go through the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers in order to get there. And so that's where a team like, even if it's not one of those other teams in the NFC West, Green Bay doesn't have that kind of gauntlet to run through. I mean, they could stay relatively healthy and find themselves in an NFC title game. And the New Orleans Saints, let's not count the Saints out just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the Saints to me. I don't know if it's Drew Brees isn't quite looking up to Drew Brees or what's going on. Like I said, look, we're not quite to midseason yet. We're almost there. A lot of these teams at midseason start flipping a switch and becoming different teams. Remember the Vikings were undefeated, 7-0, and then the other side of the season they were a complete flop.
And they ended up missing the playoffs.
So we're just throwing guesstimates out here right now, but. Yeah. If I had to go right now today and Super Bowl was being played in 3 weeks, that's who I'd probably be looking at.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, if the playoffs were to start right now, I feel good about what I've said my predictions are as well.
Yeah. Cool.
But hey, the one beautiful thing about the NFL, we're only halfway through and everything's subject to change.
On any given Sunday.
That's right. And looking forward to this Sunday slate of games. I'll actually get to watch the Sunday slate of games without worrying about my Eagles. I'll be probably dialed into your Cowboys and Washington football team matchup.
Can you see the skull?
Yeah, I do. I do see the skull.
This is my Cowboy.
I
actually had a Cowboy candle that I put away, and instead I brought this one out to replace it. Like my season has turned into a melting skeleton of a season.
Well, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Appreciate everybody who watched tonight. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it. Make sure to tune into all the Phillyverse shows, the whole family of shows, which always kick off Monday nights at 7:30 with the Football Smack Talk show, myself and Ryan. Kind of the ones who said one day in about 2009, said, hey, why don't we do a sports talk show? I think we'd be really good at it. And here we be 11 years later, still going strong. That's on Monday nights. Tuesday nights, make sure to join Ryan and Ryan at 8:30 Eastern time for the Philly Broadcast. Two Philly guys talking Philly sports. Then Wednesday night, Dallas and Philly collide as Mike Sports comes in and we talk all about the week's football action. And then Thursday nights will be preempted this week because you can't interrupt my Eagles watching. But on a typical Thursday, tables, ladders, and chairs, where me and Joe break down all things wrestling. So, Landry, anything else you wanna talk about tonight?
No, I'm over here with my.
All right. Well, make sure to sage out all the evil spirits there. Maybe say a prayer for Dak's ankle. And everybody have a great night, and we'll catch you on the other side. So, bam!